Yeah.
Thank you. And I'm very glad that as a host, I have a host for myself. I feel special now. All right. So, yeah, today we're talking about Triple Threat, the episode where Spike schedules a very important event, not realizing that he also scheduled something else on the same day at the same time, something that some of us can surprisingly relate to right about now. But that aside, here with us is Unova Brony.
It's time to play the game! It's all about the game and how you play it. It's all about control and how you can take it. It's all about the game and how you take it. It's Bernie here, and that's the only thing that comes up whenever I hear the episode title. Honestly, even though I don't watch wrestling anymore.
Uh-huh. Well, as you can see, Unova has been drinking coffee all morning. He's good and ready to go. But, all right. We also have past analysis.
Hello there. I am not like Unova. I am tired. Nice to be here. Let's have a nice discussion, I guess.
Boy, I am just psyched for this now. All right. Sweetie Bloom?
Well, it's too early in the morning.
So afraid there that she'd be speaking in cow today, and we are ponies, so that's not going to quite work. But, all right.
Fine, I'll speak in common.
Lovely. A universal language that all animals share. I think we had something like that meant for humans, but it never caught on.
Yeah, something about the Tower of Babel or something.
Yeah, that communication tower that was aiming for the heavens. Just couldn't reach all the way up there.
Too much hubris.
And finally, since he introduced me, I'll return the favor, Looney Turtle. Yes. I bet you never thought when you looked into the face of God you would see a turtle. All right. Anyway, though, okay, so this is Triple Threat. I don't know if I've actually gleaned as much of a broad consensus from the fandom on this one. It might not have made quite as big a splash as the last two, which is pretty understandable, but all the same, going around one by one, what did you think, Brony?
All right, and then I'd like to begin by saying that I'm probably going to be like the Spike expert in this cafe cast here since season 4. And well, I think now there's like a clear explanation as to why I wasn't a Spike fan until season 4. And this episode kind of proves it to me that the earlier styling to season 1 and season 3 writing for Spike, except for maybe like just for sidekicks, wasn't all that appealing for him since the writers themselves, even in the early days, didn't know what to do with the character. However, these new bunch of writers have been starting since season 6, considered the B team by many people. They went back to the roots of the show and decided, hey, let's make a plot in which Spike doesn't know everything he knows what's going on and acts a bit like Twilight all the way back in season 2. And while that's kind of like appreciated, like, hey, let's not forget about our origins and such, it does not make for an appealing episode concept, especially to us older viewers, since we have to deal with the pains of idiocy brought on upon by assumptions, as it were. And while in this case, while this episode can be quite harmful when you try to watch it, and it's like, oh my God, Spike, you're going through the same beat by beat, right? Then again, the last episode we watched did kind of made an effort to show, like, hey, do you learn anything that you learned for the very first time from like a moral experience and such from Fluttershy's perspective? And well, it is kind of like true in that sense, so it kind of makes sense why they would go back to Spike's conflict here. But here's the thing about it. I feel like this episode does stronger than the earlier Spike episodes in the fact that it's not only just because of like the two extra characters decided to put in were so strong from like reintroducing them into like a slice of life setup after epic their last epic appearances and such, but more for like Spike essentially like it wasn't like all drawn out as it were like in other episodes in which it feels like they extended the conflict to completely from like the beginning to the very end, but more like it happens. It starts at the beginning, but then it stops at the middle at the beginning of the third act.
And once put up with the liar revealed the whole time.
Yeah, we don't have to put up with that for the with a whole shebang because, or else it's like, you guys haven't learned anything from earlier seasons, haven't you? Why those episodes weren't as appealing for people to latch on to the character. But at least in this case, there were some things sprinkled into the episode to make it somewhat interesting, like the very first appearance of a non-pony being called out by the map, which happened at the very end of the first act, which that hasn't really happened ever for like ever starting like season 5 with the map subplot. Which, for one thing, it's like, Spike has a friendship problem in Ponyville. Hopefully he'll find it and solve it, but he decides to take the Applejack approach to it like she did all the way in Viva Las Pegasus in season 6. It's like, I gotta look for the problem, even though the problem's standly blinking at me.
Well, in Applejack's case, that was because she knew darn well what the ponies in question were like. In Spike's case, he kind of just seemed to be missing the obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But
I will say though, what separated this from past Spike episodes, where he was just kind of the knucklehead who needed to learn a lesson, at least a little bit, is that we had Twilight and Starlight also kind of agreeing with him that, this might be a problem and it might be better to keep, Ember and Thorax apart. It's, not supposed to be entirely one of those cases of like, oh, that's Spike, more a matter of, okay, sometimes these things are just going to be complicated.
Well, in the case, like, it's like all three of them would kind of share the point of folly of like, oh, let's agree on like making sure like everyone doesn't see each other, despite how much of a headache it will bring for us. But hopefully it doesn't cause any sort of international incident. In which this episode's case, it's like it's not like the axe. Instead, it's like, oh, you may have actually broken some friendship bonds, Spike. Which, in that case, would be a lot more harsher and a lot more personal, since this show is Friendship is Magic, after all. But
for the record, nothing is like the axe.
And nothing will ever be as the axe, unless they were to create another race of creatures that are single-minded in their task.
Right.
But
you're right that nothing will be like the axe. But anyway.
So I feel like in this case, like the episodes really shows like a different at the conclusion for Spike, that this episode feels very cathartic, and at the very least, Spike honestly feels like he's grabbed the moral and actually absorbed all of it, really, in comparison to like the earlier Spike episodes, in which one of them felt the very first Spike episode, that being Now As Well That Ends Well, felt like it was due to a circumstance that Spike would have to learn. But in this case, it was like Spike really was like regretting everything and was just letting it in when Amber put the beat down on him, letting all the emotions sink in, which I find it quite gratifying. Like, well, here's your comeuppance for coming up with that stupid idea. Actually get in a harsh talking to by your close friends, Yeah. But, and, well, I don't know why I'm just, like, popping in and out and such, but let's just move on from that because, like, I know that people don't want to talk about Spike in this episode because there's two different characters that actually have a better chance to like steal the spotlight from him, and that would be his close friends now, Dorax and Amber. And for Dorax's case, I feel like he makes a better appearance here than all of his appearances beforehand, from Tom Zero, Changeling, and the season 6 finale. Because for one thing, Dorax wasn't really a character I couldn't even latch myself onto, if any at all, because such a meek and sapling of a personality such as his, like, it doesn't seem to like gratify me as much as like say Fluttershy is, maybe because of like the feminine charm or something like that. But for like Dorax's case, it's just like I'm just like the small nerdy kid who all of a sudden is thrust upon the leadership position of the Neo Changelings. But like what this episode decides to bring is one, he's not just meek all the time. In fact, they weirdly enough introduce like a much more protective side of him, in which he decided to turn into a bear when he saw Amber yell Spike all the way to the ground, and it's like, oh my god, I'm not letting you harm my friend, and then goes all grizzly on them. It's quite weird seeing like that character trait all of a sudden surface in season 7 when we haven't seen any sort of inkling of that beforehand.
I might not necessarily say that, because I mean, between single-handedly up and leaving the Changeling hive and then breaking back into it with 4 or 3 other powerless rebels and doing more than his share and taking them down. I mean, I think that you can make the argument that okay, he's shown, as I guess the cliche goes, kind of that inner strength or that willingness to step it up when the chips are down. But the thing about that is like that's only fun when you actually see the chips down and what he does when that's the case. So okay, I guess you could argue that this is the first moment where we've seen him like have to straight up put up his dukes and stand his ground against somebody.
Yeah, and that perfectly leads to like my next point about Dorax. In his case, it seems like unless it's like something tangible or visible in his mind that he could defend, it seems like that's when he's willing to act like that. But when it's something like undefined, like what he thinks about for his rule, like when he was discussing about like the renegade changelings during that monologue discussion when he was alone with Spike, it seems like he's really unsure about like what sort of values you want to place, and he doesn't feel like to take like an authoritative approach just yet, despite him being a ruler now. And that makes sense since he was just thrust upon like this sort of position, just like a certain purple pony all the way back at the end of season 3. and I kind of like it, like, when the show decides to give you like positions of leadership, it's like, we don't know the answers all the time. What are we supposed to do? And the same could be said for Amber in this case, as even though it kind of seems like she's kind of regressed a bit in the sense of like we thought of her as like the smarter version of the dragons from of Gauntlet of Fire. It seems like she still has like the mannerisms of a typical dragon when it comes to like brute strength and competition, to see like your foes weep in terror of you. And it just seems like on the inside of her, she's more than likely doesn't know like why she's feeling down, even though she's acting the way she usually is, even as Dragon Lord. I think that's kind of nice. Like you don't know why you feel sad, even though you've been doing the same things over and over again. Kind of makes like a nice improvement over a certain episode in season 6, Applejack's Day Off, in which sometimes you might not even notice like you feeling down, even though you're doing the same thing you've been doing over and over again as part of a routine. I think that kind of brings it up, certainly from like that sort of threshold in which the episode could have gotten boring. So I think with like all these elements and such, Amber and Dorax both improved greatly in my eyes as characters in both the comedy department, but also character-wise. Meanwhile, for Spike, Yeah, like we see him like a bit on his worst, not like his absolute worst, but just him just assuming badly of like newfound friends he's made over season 6. Just some of those growing pains that you need to get through in order for you to become certainly someone more mature and more willing to take on the responsibilities of a title that I've long been wanting Spike to have after all these seasons. But hey, hopefully the next Spike episode will certainly show us like the better sides of Spike. So yeah, I think I'm done with like what I have to say for now.
All right.
Cool. Well, I must say, that was quite the the opening. I must say.
He came here ready with what he wanted to say.
Really?
Yeah, no, you
Ready to
definitely
go.
gave me a lot to talk about. Because okay, spoiler alert, I pretty much disagree with most of what you just said. Uh,
Of course.
uh,
That's our past analysis.
yeah. I mean, like, if
Man.
you ask me, the strongest Spike episodes have been from. I mean, we had a little bit near the tail end of season 6, because I thought that the times they are changeling was amazing. But then I'd say that season 2 and season 3 were, I think, really solid on Spike, and I think that this episode is really solid on Spike. Yeah, they did give him a bit of a character trait that's akin to Twilight, but I feel like they explained it in the episode. Starlight's like, "Wow, you're spending way too much time with Twilight," and considering that Twilight is sort of like this mother figure to him, it's kind of unclear. She's sort of like a mother figure and sort of not. I think it makes sense that Spike would pick this up, and I honestly just compliment the fact that it's a new part of his character that I could totally see. The problem that Spike has typically had is that he's kind of undefined. At least the writers have had trouble finding that like gimmick, that thing that they can latch onto like they do for the other main 6. Like Fluttershy is shy. That's the thing that they've latched onto. For Twilight, she's a nervous wreck. Like that's the thing that they've latched onto. And oh, I just saw that Looney fixed the picture. Thank you, Looney.
Yes. In the middle of the stream, just pay no attention to how Pasta's OC changes a slight shade of color and your positions.
Yeah.
The haircut.
He's a changeling.
Yeah, but I think it makes sense. The method that they've done for him when they were working on Spike's character in seasons 2 and season 3, I think that the main things they latched onto were the fact that he was essentially a sidekick, and then in season 2, the fact that he was a dragon, but he was living in a pony world. I thought, and season 6 has sort of added. Season 6's times they are changeling in this episode both add something to him based on his new position. Like times they are changeling added it because he's Spike the Brave and Glorious in the Crystal Empire. Like he's regarded very highly. They took that and they worked around with it. With this one, they took the fact that he is both friends to Thorax and friends to Ember, and they turned that into something. And besides the fact that I do think that there is a little bit of him picking up traits from Twilight, I also think that a lot of people in this situation would with the experience of the main six, would probably say, yeah, they're probably not going to get along because the last episode that we had that was sort of like this was Maud Pie, where Pinky really wanted Maud to get along with her friends, and even though they befriended Maud in the end, they didn't really jive together. That was clear. So I think it's kind of cool that they do the reverse. That you shouldn't be overly pessimistic or thinking the worst when it comes to two friends getting along. I think it's a good lesson. In terms of Thorax and Ember, I disagree that Ember. I do not think that Ember changed that much from her debut episode of the Dragon one. I don't remember. Didn't make
Gauntlet
much
of
progress.
Fire.
Okay, Gauntlets of Fire. I don't think that she really changed much at all. Like, I don't think that there was this intelligence or she didn't necessarily fit into the other dragons. I just thought that she had maybe a tinge of maybe softness towards Spike, but granted, that's because Spike is like a little dragon that can hardly do a thing. Like, it makes sense that she would be that way to Spike, but with the other dragons, I don't
I
necessarily
was going
think
to
that's...
say a little more humanity, but humans are the one animals that don't really exist on this show.
Yeah. It's sort of biology. If you're dealing with a younger person, you're more than likely going to be softer on them, and I think that's what happened in Gauntlets of Fire. But I like the
shipping.
yeah. And so I disagree with that point that Unova said, and also just for Thorax, I don't think that. Yeah, I didn't necessarily like him all that much. I found him interesting. I found him interesting that he was a changeling that, very much did not fit the mold. And I think this sort of sappy nature that they gave him in this episode, besides the protective aspect, but the sappy one, I kind of like it. Like, he just his mannerisms of when Spike would always leave and he would be like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm not that important enough. But I thought it was kind of cute a little bit. I liked it. It definitely contrasted nicely with what Ember, reacted to, where she's like, Spike, you're being a jerk. Why are you constantly abandoning me? And am I the only one? Probably not. I'm not the only one that got a huge kick out of the fact that Ember could not tell the difference between Starlight and Twilight.
All ponies look same. That was hilarious.
Oh, I love that.
That was a pretty fun touch, yeah.
It's certainly a bit like a running over of like some of the comments and criticisms from Fame and Misfortune. Yeah.
Actually, I kind of thought that was a
glimmer. How is that different?
I kind of thought it was a better sort of jab at the fandom than a lot of Fame and Misfortune too, when Ember was like, or what Spike's like, hey, maybe we don't need to argue about this. It's not very important, but I'm right.
Okay. That's actually a good point. You can't dispute the right argument, right?
No, I love it when they do stuff like that. And I also think it makes sense to Ember's character because she comes from a very different culture, one that is not all that colorful and like, it's just sort of a social cue. And I think it was a cool thing they added that. Other than that, I would just say that I just liked the general flow of this episode. I thought it was nicely structured, and I don't think it maybe was a home run, like Fame and Misfortune, or um, The Perfect Pair. I don't think it was a home run in that sense, but I definitely think it was a very solid episode. I'd probably rate it like an 8. Like it's very good. It's like it's maybe not a home run, but it's probably like a double or a triple. It's a pretty good episode. My book.
Well, I guess that brings us to Sweetie Bloom. What did you think?
Before we go to Sweetie Bloom, I just want to ask: did people get the baseball reference? Double?
Yes,
triple?
of course. I should
Okay,
hope so.
Okay. Yeah, I would hope so. I don't know. On to you, Sweetie.
Well, I mean,
Sorry, the idea of people not knowing.
I probably
Still have
Maybe
money?
I'm just being tired and
You didn't?
I
when
am
you-
I am no sports expert.
When you hit a double, it means you've taken 2 bases. If you hit a triple, you've taken 3.
Oh, okay.
And that is
Ah.
really hard to do because you have to. I mean, yeah, if it's a home run, most of the time that means you hit it out of the park. But the
Yeah,
triple,
it's out of the park, so you
it
can
has
like
to take
walk.
the guy. Yeah, it has to take these guys a really long time to get the baseball for you to be able to run around 3 bases. So that is a pretty exciting hit.
Yeah.
it is. This is the Rift Cafe, people. We're talking baseball. Yay!
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the Rift Cafe,
That's-
where we occasionally
Well, this
talk
episode
about
is
ponies.
called Triple Threat. So
Oh, good
Uh-huh.
one. Yeah, triple threat. Yeah.
Yeah.
okay,
Well, for me, I'd say it's more of a double than a triple this particular episode. I'd say it's very middle of the ground. I think it's I'll have to disagree with Pasta in that, and agree with Unova in that early Spike episodes were pretty abysmal. But they got better as the seasons went on. We're like, oh my goodness, quality Spike episodes, they do exist. But this one I'd say is very middle of the ground. It's not Spike at your service. We're okay, but it's not one of the better ones either. I'd say it's middle of the ground, and I think as far as it being a Spike episode, because Spike didn't really shine all that much in this episode, I feel. I'd say he did. I will agree though, shifting to agreeing with Pasta in that he did. Yes, he did sort of emulate Twilight, but they addressed it. Like, you've been spending way too much time with her, which, yeah, I mean, she's like an older sister, maternal type figure. It makes sense that he'd pick up behavioral stuff from her, and he may even influence them. Where, like, I think if I recall correctly, they were like, Spike, you're worrying too much, and then they sort of got sucked into how much he was worrying. But I don't know. The funny thing is, like, with Spike, I was on it. I identified with him very strongly at the beginning of this episode, and that waned very quickly. I was like, oh, I know what it's like to balance everybody's, needs, all your friends' needs all at once, and that's stressful and difficult and all that. But then when he was like, they can't possibly get along because they're too different, so I'm not even gonna try. I was like, why? Again, there's the whole liar revealed thing. I'm going, what, why did you? And I did like, though, that later in the episode they brought that up. He's like, I'm sorry I lied, but I invited you two here on the same day. And they both go, so? It's like, why did you think that was a problem? You just be honest with them. Like, oh, shoot, my bad. I invited you guys here on the same day. Do try to play nice. One thing, though, that was weird. This is the first time Spike has been summoned by the map. This is the first time a non-pony has been summoned by a map. And I don't think this was a very good showcase of that, because Spike didn't solve this friendship problem exactly. He may have been the catalyst in that he was the one who brought these two, because it was really that Ember needed to help Thorax and Thorax needed to help Ember. That's what needed to happen. That's what the map got all glowy about. The only reason Spike was involved in the slightest was to be the catalyst between them, to be the friend that linked these two together. But once they were in Ponyville, once they were going to interact, and admittedly they interacted in a sort of, we're both gonna white knight for Spike against each other. Once that happened, Spike had no actual interaction, no actual part in the friendship problem being fixed. They sort of did it themselves.
There's something I would like to argue.
Go for it.
I kind of feel like for season 7, this is kind of like the second time in which they used like the map character out of Catalyst and didn't really interacted much with like the goal. Like a Royal Problem kind of did the same thing.
In that case, I'd say Starlight was far more important in that she really was trying to talk to them. She really was. She knew what was up. She knew what needed to be done, and her powers, specifically her cutie mark related magic, was what was needed to get them to interact. And she did sort of be like, okay, this is what's going to happen. It wasn't like a freak accident or something, and she wasn't, she was like, okay, this is what's going to happen. It's going to fade away in a day, but you need this anyway. I really felt like she was more involved in solving the problem. Even though, yes, they did also solve it themselves. They also solved it, in order to help Starlight as well. I feel like in Royal Problem, she was far more involved in solving the friendship problem than Spike was involved in this one. Because this happened entirely, if anything, he got in the way for a while of this friendship problem getting solved. Because he was just convinced that they wouldn't get together.
I will rush to Spike's defense a teeny bit. I didn't mention this earlier, but I do wonder if the circumstances that Spike put before Ember and Thorax made them more inclined than they otherwise would be to be friendly with each other. Like if they had just, met up and they didn't have like this thing they both were, sort of peeved at. Spike was sort of they sort of got along because they were angry with Spike. So yes, Spike didn't do anything per se that was good, but I feel like because he screwed up, he may have actually helped them become better friends because they were like, wow, Spike, you really screwed up.
You're a dick. Yeah, I can agree with that, but the issue I have is that was not consciously done by Spike.
It definitely was not consciously done by Spike.
Yeah, that was a setup. That was fate. That like the map did all the work in that.
It was happenstance.
I don't even know why the map needed to call him
the map
to solve
didn't
the
need to
problem.
do anything.
Unless the map knew it just needed
just
to
a
make
troll.
it worse, to make it better. Yeah.
The map is confirmed. Writers' souls.
Yes,
The map is a troll. It's just like, lol, what would make this even more stressful for Spike? We're going to make his spikes glow. And he's not going to actually do anything, and they're going to solve it themselves.
I like how we're kind of describing the map like a character, like it intentionally trolled him.
It is. I think it did.
Yeah, it's Mappy, the cutie mark map. It's best.
I also
have
to ask, is there something about dragon biology that makes their scales glow?
Yeah, when his scales first started glowing, I thought actually it was Ember calling him.
That's what I thought too.
I thought she was like, "Sir, I am the Dragon Lord. Get your butt over here and entertain me."
Oh, that could have certainly taken a different turn.
Right. Well, if Spike has magic fire breath, I guess magic scales aren't too much of a stretch.
Yeah.
Dragons are constructs of light.
Yeah, that and he's been around ponies long enough. I think the map just is easy. It's easier for the map to select him than any other dragon.
Yeah, he actually has a throne next to the map, technically. So
technically speaking, yeah, it's a mini throne, but it's there.
He's got a baby seat next to Twilight.
Even so, yeah, this season kind of pulled the rug out from under how we thought the map was supposed to work. Like what the deal with it seemed to be. Like, okay, now this is how the tree utilizes the elements of harmony, aka the main 6. But now it can call whoever it wants. It's just I
feel bad for whatever random background pony one day wakes up to their cutie mark glowing. What's going on?
What's happening?
What's going on? I don't understand.
They're like, They go to like the doctor. I don't know what's going on. My butt is glowing and vibrating, and it's confusing.
Oh, that means Princess Twilight wants to see you. You can find her off the road that used to lead to a library.
And Twilight's
Can you just-
like, wait, what is this cutie mark? What is this? Some random background pony?
I see bubbles.
I'm just wondering what would happen if like the same cutie mark that like you see in like a lot of repeat ponies all started glowing because of
That'd
that to
be
know
funny.
which one.
Like that
Let's-
scroll and quill cutie mark that everybody has. Like, who is that? That's like 5 different ponies.
They should do that if the map ever glitches again. Just like, what the heck? It's calling 5 ponies with the same cutie mark.
Maybe they haven't found out their true destiny, which is why they're being brought over to Starlight.
It's just like a shiny glob of cutie marks all in Ponyville, and they're like, I guess they want everyone in Ponyville.
Okay, everyone, we have a huge friendship problem, and I think it involves with our relationship with each other. So how are we gonna fix it? Get spiteful and hateful? No. I think that's what got us into this mess. Pitchforks and nannies? No. Anything else that doesn't involve any sort of mob-like mentality?
But, well, actually, I will agree that, like, as much as I thought a royal problem was kind of like, okay, Starlight Glimmer is the element of impetuousness, and that's why they needed her, like, okay, at least they did have her, give her some kind of agency in solving the problem, like why they needed to bring her to Canterlot to solve it, or I didn't much of that here with Spike, so I might side with Unova and Sweetie Bloom a little more. I think that's what Unova was saying, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
You believe so?
He doesn't even know.
I don't know. What was the last thing I
It's too
said
early.
to you?
Consult yourself and get back to me later. But anyway, okay. Anything else, Sweetie Bloom?
No, that's about it. Although I loved Ember was to me the most entertaining part of this episode because just every time she'd lampshade something, she'd be like, "Oh, why is that a thing?" What and just the all ponies look same thing was hilarious. It's just like, but you guys have very shiny names, and you're both purple ponies with purple manes. Mine's more of a glimmer. How is that different?
Oh, let's not forget the fact that they all have purple eyes.
Yeah, it's like
Also, her with the gem, plates and stuff in the castle where she's like, "Oh, this stuff is great," and she's just destroying the entire room.
No better than the axe.
Mm-hmm.
At least she was
is-
eating it.
Yeah.
And probably destroyed less of it. But yeah, actually, this is the same writer who wrote Parental Guidance, and I think he has writing credits on Legend of Korra and Voltron and other shows that have a lot of really fun characters. And I mean, yeah, as much as Parental Guidance fell apart for me when it tried to actually go somewhere, I thought like the way it started out with these parents and just what makes them tick and just a total elbow and the ribs to parents like that. I thought that was a blast. So, okay, I feel like he brought a lot of that to this episode too, just like getting into the little details of, Thorax and Ember, first of all, but even like them interacting with some of these ponies. I thought he had a lot of fun with that here.
So, second, I guess I'm asking for a bit of a spoiler here. You said that you liked how they did it with Starlight and Royal Problem more than they did it with Spike here. Does that mean that you dislike this episode more than a Royal Problem? Because if so, you probably hate this episode, right?
I gave Royal Problem a B-, and actually Spike, I mean, as much as they didn't really go anywhere with him being the one who's supposed to solve the friendship problem. If you think about it, that was a very, very small part of this episode, just sort of like an offhand excuse to keep the hijinks going. So that does not necessarily. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was
Yeah,
just
to be fair,
curious.
the whole map thing was, I mean, it came up like halfway through the episode, you know, it
It
was
did,
almost
it
like
did,
a side thing, which is, you know, which is part of why I have a problem with it. I'm like, why was it necessary? Why was map intervention necessary at all?
Yeah.
Well, I do think that those two ponies that were struggling over the chair, he should have had it go off after that. Like that should have been the problem.
Like there was an actual friendship problem, and like it doesn't glow when it comes to like your own friendship problems. I think that would have made for a great joke.
No, I mean that when the ponies were fighting over the chair and Spike resolved it, it would have been hilarious if
Yeah, that was it.
that was it. That was
That was the whole conflict.
There was a second where I thought that was going to be it, just like the map just had him randomly solve a friendship problem to put one more thing on his plate, and yeah, that was hilarious.
Again, the map is a troll.
I thought that was what I think you guys misinterpreted what I said. It was that.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, like that's why I said then we would laugh because like the spikes would glow. It's like, oh, that was the friendship problem. Wow, they all don't have to be episode spamming plots. Cool.
That would have been cool.
Oh my god, and then they would have leaded possibly one of the best premises then with the map. All of a sudden, it calls multiple of the main six. Like, everyone is called up to a different part of Equestria. And then that just leaves, like, only Spike and Starlight. And Aaron's like, wait, why are they calling everyone to the main six in different corners? I thought it was only about duos.
It'd be hilarious if they called them to all, like, separately to the most dangerous corners of Equestria. Yeah, it's dangerous. You gotta do it all by yourself.
Fun, actually, yeah. Like Equestria gets invaded, the main six are being worked to their limit, called all over the place by the map, and we just cut to them in different corners of Equestria fighting for truth, harmony, and friendship.
Oh, no. Like, instead of like a war, make it like they go through like these most epic adventures just to get to like the map's destination, only to solve the most minute of friendship problems that they ever faced. And then they just go, no!
Uh-huh. Okay, well, I mean, I guess they could just fly there or something, but, well. No, I never speculate on Equestria's landscape. You'll always be wrong.
Lost treasure of Griffinstone, anyone? Life can be made difficult even in Equestria.
But, okay, where were we?
Sweetie Bloom.
No, I think I'm pretty much good.
And Looney.
Hello, I've been in the corner over here.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. You're the one everybody's been waiting for.
Really? I didn't know that.
No, we haven't been waiting for him. He's just been there.
Yeah.
Hi, Looney. I didn't notice you. I'm sorry.
Is that pasta?
Oh, that's
Sorry,
shade.
I confuse you for Golden Fox all the time.
Good one. Good one.
You're both orange ponies.
Oh!
Racist. That's racist.
Are you like Starlight?
Are you-
Not Starlight. Ember.
Yes,
You're
yes,
both
I'm-
orange.
Yeah, I'm
You're
definitely
reptiles.
pulling an ember right now. So, yeah, we are both reptiles. So yeah, it works.
Sure, let's go with that.
You
Yeah.
reptiles are all the same.
I mean, she can breathe fire. So yeah, with this episode, I gotta agree with Sweetie. It's a pretty good episode, but it's not the best. I liked how they made jokes about the difference between Starlight and Twilight, because I constantly confuse their names, just like Sunset. I confuse the three of them quite frequently. Twilight's a little easier.
I
to
sadly
remember.
do
It's
that
more-
as well.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, it's more Starlight and Sunset that I confuse, because Twilight's just a lot. It's different compared to them. It starts with a T.
Yeah, but they both have light in it. Like Ember made a point. It's like you both have light in your name, and
Like they're all very much the same base name, Because sunset shimmer, that's pretty much when the twilight sparkles.
Well,
Yep.
see,
Or when
There you go.
it's a shimmer. It's not a glimmer. It's not a
Uh-oh,
spark.
Not a
we've got-
sparkle. It's
Distinctly
totally different.
Totally
We've got
different.
we've got Pasta defending his wife.
Yeah, it's totally different. So
There's
yeah,
some eccentricity about those names,
yeah.
especially the fact that Sunset clearly has the most more superior abbreviation since it's SS instead of everyone else that goes TS or SG. Jeez.
Yeah, but I found the build up to the lesson a little cringy because, like, for one, I would have expected Twilight to not be for this kind of course of action. I thought she was more knowledgeable in friendship, but apparently,
Oh, no.
she'll allow you to neglect someone for extended periods of time. And she'll
not be
distract
honest
them.
with your friends. We totally have never learned that lesson before in the 7
Absolutely
seasons
never
we've had this
happened.
show.
Just
You're
kind of
missing
proves
the
that her whole
point.
reason.
We need the hijinks.
Yeah.
Hijinks makes comedy, right?
So with that
The,
regard,
the whole reason Twilight got her wings was political. Drop the mic.
yeah. So with that regard, I feel like Twilight was just as trolly as the map and Celestia was at the beginning of the show, because she had to have known that this would have ended up terribly, and she was just along for the ride.
Yeah, she just didn't want to judge. She's like, maybe Spike. I mean, he could definitely use my wisdom, but
He could use my
like-
wisdom, but friendship
It's
lesson.
not like he's been hanging around while we've been learning these friendship lessons too. Nah.
Yeah. I'll
It's
just-
not like he. It's not like he has access to the journal, like, or anything.
Or that
so he
Yeah.
he's been the one writing half of my letters to
Yeah.
Celestia for me.
Yeah, let's just see where this goes. But like I felt that it was irritating that he didn't realize that separating them would be a terrible idea. But yeah, there was a lot of hijinks. I loved the jokes that they made in this episode. And actually, thinking back, there's one question that I had that's completely unrelated to the episode. But, well, okay, it's related to one scene, but not the episode at large. And that's when changelings transform. Do the physical characteristics of the thing that they turn into affect them, or is it just a mirage kind of thing? Because what is his name? Shoot.
Thorax.
Thorax.
I was about to say Lorax, but I'm like, no, that's a Dr. Seuss thing.
Oh God!
I speak for the changelings.
I actually mixed up his name with the Lorax as well. You're not alone.
Yeah. But like he turned into a bear to defend Spike, but I don't think that would really make a difference. He's still a deer. Like from what I understand, the changelings, when they transform, it's a kind of appearance difference, not a physical difference to their anatomy. What do you guys think about that?
I actually think the opposite of that. I feel
Yeah,
like,
I'm with you, Nova. I think the opposite as
yeah,
well.
it's like
Kind of
basically.
like the gems, like it changes their shape, just not necessarily their strength.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
if they're able to change their strength, then they would be OP as fuck.
Yeah.
I stopped trying to understand changeling powers when Thorax first showed up. Like it made sense for a while, and then suddenly you can turn into a rock. When was that a thing? I thought you had to change into a pony of some sort. And what?
Hey,
Well,
No,
okay,
they
they
no,
said
they
they
just-
transformed to
dragon.
steal a pony's love, to steal the love that they would have for the shape they're taking. And
Or
if
a
a changeling
rock.
turns into a rock, Odd would be all over that.
That and they're
Okay,
appealing to
but-
all the rock farmers.
Oh. Hey.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about for like when Thorax changes, it's like the mass of his body like morphs completely into like certain body parts of his would be attached to like certain equivalents. Like the horns would just be probably be like be like put in on the inside of his skull, which sometimes that's why they have to change back because maybe like it's like a bit of a pain, like it hurts whenever I transmogrify myself into a different being that doesn't have similar traits as like myself.
We got the chat talking about it over here now. It seems like so far they think it's a physical change as well.
That's quite interesting. All but one.
It is interesting. Like when we first met the changelings, it seems like they couldn't change into anything. Like they seem to change into something that they could take things away but not add to. For instance, in a way, changelings are sort of alicorn looking. They've got wings and they've got a horn, so they could change into any sort of pony, earth pony, Pegasus, unicorn, whatever, because they had traits of all three physically, and they just needed to change their skin. Like that's how I saw it, like changing a skin on like for a video game.
Yeah.
But apparently not, because Thorax just threw that all into the blender and I have no idea what's going on anymore.
Plus, can I mention
change size and shape? I don't know if he, yeah. Well, I don't know if you need the powers of a rock to transform into a rock because it's kind of short on those.
Power up achieved. Rock.
Well, it'd have more armor, you know.
There you go.
Plus, can I mention something about like when Thorax changes into a bear? This is like the third different design for a bear we've gotten to this show, with the second one not too far off as it was only introduced in Fluttershy Leans In. Like, why all of a sudden they decide to be like, hey, let's make different designs for the typical non-speaking creatures, you know?
Yeah. Hey, you know, we have bear assets. I made a new puppet anyways.
Oh no.
But
Looney, you just said that they have bear assets.
But
the bare necessities.
Oh, the pun.
One thing to bring up though, as far as whether or not they change physically, for the changelings, when he turned into a bear, he was still speaking with his normal voice. He wasn't speaking through bear vocal cords or anything like that.
Well,
it was
but
his normal
did
voice.
Roar like a bear.
Yeah.
Could he talk while he was a rock?
Like...
Well, remember
No,
when the changelings first appeared, they could speak in the main 6 voices when they were transforming into like Twilight and everything.
Yeah,
maybe they can
were able
choose
to
adjust their vocal cords.
Plus, I also think, like, in the case of, like, the bear, it kind of seemed to imply that maybe you gain a bit of, like, the mentality of what you change it to, because the rock is kind of acting very brutish all of a sudden. I was like, why is he acting all this aggressive?
I imagine, actually, in that case, it was the other way around. He was feeling aggressive because he was defending Spike, thus he decided to change into a bear. Because that was how he was feeling very bearish at the time.
Although, actually, if they can change their vocal cords, then that does suggest the change is physical, because...
Yeah, exactly.
Cords are a body part. Unless the changelings are just like that voice actor who can change their voice into anything else.
They're all Dewilstonator levels of voice actors right there.
The changeling is the best actor there ever was for a species. Such
Anybody
mimicry.
ever read that comic, actually, the Return of Queen Chrysalis, where I think it's the second issue or so that we just randomly see this changeling who's, I guess, leading a patrol of them about to pull a fast one on the main 6, and for no reason we see he speaks like he's a snake changeling. He's like, yes, now we have some fun. And it's never brought up again, and we have no idea why. This one's apparently special.
He has a lisp, okay? He's very sensitive about it.
Or maybe, like, a lot of the time he wishes he had an excuse to change into, like, a freaking snake. Like,
Wouldn't a changeling with a lisp sound more like, yes, now it's time to have some
like
a Mike Tyson changeling. Nobody knows who Mike Tyson is anymore. No, you only know what he sounds like if you watch Mike Tyson Mysteries.
Oh.
Put that aside.
Anyway, I think Looney was actually probably had more to say.
No, that was
He
pretty
did.
much it. I didn't have a long
Oh.
list.
Wow.
Hi.
Let's see. I covered the green with Sweetie. I covered it was fun. Found it cringy.
I've been voted out
Question
this
about
episode.
changelings. Yes. No pastos.
No pastas on the notes.
Yeah, I'm
No
on a
pasta.
diet.
Yeah.
I mean, like, actually, also kind of like parental guidance. This guy's other episode. I was pretty like optimistic for this thing starting out. I mean, you just somehow, I mean, the really like little details on each of these characters, kind of what I really get into. Like, yeah, the thing with Spike, how he's picked up a couple traits from Twilight, and just like I was kind of hopeful starting out. I feel like when it's time for him to do something with these ponies, like when he maybe
Does that
just
mean that you?
sure
Does that mean
what's-
that you and I are positive together at the same time?
What?
Well,
We're
actually, I
making
feel
What is the world coming to?
we're making Cafe Cast history here.
There's no red versus blue. It's no red and blue.
well, I mean, I don't know. If we went back through our history with this stuff, we might have agreed more often than not. It's just when we don't, the sparks fly.
Sparks fly.
So, do you
I
agree
vote
more
voted
with me?
both you.
Am I not voted off the island?
So,
Not
I mean,
today.
everybody here seems to be like at least okay with this episode, and like,
Yeah.
in my case, and I think I might actually have liked it a little bit better than Parental Guidance. It didn't like crash for me or anything like that. It's just when, second act on, when it decides that it needs all of these hijinks that are really not very funny, not very interesting, kind of cringy in several cases, that I'm like, okay, you really don't need to do this. I mean, like, let's instead of like, okay, we need to push, Ember and Thorax off to the side until we're ready to tell you the lesson on how they didn't need to do that. It's like, no, I mean, the scene where they become friends is actually relatively short. How about more of that? How about more of these two in the same room with each other? And the will they, won't they question. I mean, they were the interesting part, not, here, wait,
Not Spike.
like, go juggle chairs and distract Thorax.
Yeah.
Or reply something.
And like, when they meet up with each other and kind of help each other out, like that was fun. So I mean, I feel like this could. I mean, like I said, I feel like this guy kind of feels like he isn't sure what plots to go with here to get the most fun out of this, and that's where I thought it maybe lost its chance to be a great one. As is, it's maybe a solid B. It was fun. And I do kind of agree it was one of Thorax's better showings, like if not his best one.
Mm.
I'd probably
kinda
give it like an A-.
For me, I would probably give it like a mid-tier rating. Like, it basically feels like the bench post of like essentially like this is what would be considered like more than likely a little good episode, but like it had some things holding it back, like just unappealing like character displays, or maybe it's just really more of like those typical sitcom tropes that just drags everything down constantly. And it's like, if only we could develop a new device for comedy. If only.
I give it a solid shrug.
Mm.
It's,
better
you know,
than
it's
nothing, I
not
suppose.
terrible. It's not great. It's good. It's good. It's good.
Yeah, I give it a solid okay hand.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it looks like we have past A-, and the rest ranging from meh to pretty good.
Yeah, meh to good. Yeah, I wouldn't sit here
Meh.
and say it was on the bad side of meh. It's on the good side of meh.
On a
Yeah.
scale of meh to good, what do you?
Yeah.
So is it like a
there
C
is
Very
plus?
specific
good, bad,
scale.
And meh, and it's on the good side of meh.
Wait,
I guess-
Sweetie Bloom, would that be like a C plus?
Well, sort of, but I don't know. It's one of those. I don't like giving Fs very often. I'd say acceptable. A for acceptable.
No
All right.
plus. Like you ain't getting extra credit.
Yeah, no
Right.
extra credit for this episode. No.
We can't give you that allowance.
We already gave Perfect Pair 200%. We're just out of extra credit at this point.
Yeah.
All right. We
But
have to
then
wait till next season for the next episode. That's going to be the single greatest thing bronies will ever see in their lives.
Wonders what the title of the next episode is.
I have to say, I've been blown away by this season. I'm being extremely positive. So far, there's only been 3 duds for me, and if it keeps this up, it is going to be as good as season 2 for me. This season is very solid.
It
Wow.
is. It's pretty good. What are your duds, if I may ask?
My duds are Celestial Advice. I did not like Celestial Advice. Then I did not like Honest Apple. I very much
Yes.
did not.
Honest Apple can go and die.
Yes, Honest Apple can go and
His
die.
worst episode.
when you
And
saw
then-
Sorry, continue.
All right.
And then
I hated the
lastly-
part with Applejack being mean, but I feel like it takes it on the chin a little more than it deserves for that.
Oh gosh.
it's
Anyway,
like-
we're not here to talk about that. We won't.
Yeah,
get on
yeah.
that.
Enough.
What was
And
the
then,
third one?
then the only other episode that was a dud for me, and I think this episode is the worst dud of the season, was Not Asking for Trouble.
Oh, come on,
Which one was
pal.
No.
that?
The Yaks
The Yak
episode.
one.
Oh.
Which I thought
I'm
was
gonna have to
infinitely
say
less.
Honest Apple was worse than that for me.
Honest Apple was terrible, though.
Yeah.
It was
I
terrible.
admit that that's not a great episode either, but Honest Apple was my Philly Vanilli. I raged so bad.
It's like I wish Honest Apple would have taken Party Poop's advice on how to make you feel unliking the characters in that episode. Why
See,
did you
anyway.
what
I don't want to get wrapped up in Honest Apple.
Yeah.
Too many tangents.
We're not gonna continue to at Honest Apple.
But I gotta just ask, was it mainly because of how Applejack was being mean?
Mostly.
Gotcha. Well, then you and I dislike it for very different reasons.
Okay. There's a lot. There was nothing in that episode I particularly liked. But the main thing, the thing that really made me rage was when Applejack destroyed that hat. Like that, I had to punch a pillow.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but I loved the scene where Applejack's talking to the strawberry person because she's so
that
mean.
was
That was the highlight of that episode. Anyways, yeah. So the recent
back to
episode.
this one.
Yeah.
Triple threat.
How
Yeah.
about, all the talk with Thorax, it kind of made as far as character goes, what that brought to mind for me is how some people and characters can just walk into a room and before barely any time goes by, you know exactly what kind of person they are, what they're about, and then some you need to see them put through the paces a little bit more before it sort of comes out. And I mean, and Thorax's appearances up to this one, he's he was less the point than the challenge at hand. From the second he showed up, he had something separate that he had to think about, getting the friends back from the changelings or how to get people to stop hunting him. But yeah, he does get a little more time to, I guess, just be in this episode, just do various things that you might do when you show up and hang out with your friends. And I feel like they took the time to have a little bit of fun with that, to play up his kind of sweetie pie personality.
Mm.
So I don't know, we'll take a poll on that. Is this everybody's favorite Thorax appearance?
I would vote for yes.
Actually, yeah. For Thorax, this was pretty strong.
Yeah, no, I probably would agree. This is his best performance. Not that
It was-
his
it
other
was even a pretty
performances were
good-
bad.
not that his past ones were bad, but this one was good. And I'd even say it was pretty good for Ember, at least in the sense that she entertained me more than she had in other episodes, just with her
Yeah.
lampshading everything and just being like, "But you're both purple pony."
Mm.
Which
Eh,
she might have been swallowed up a bit by the tropes of her character and
A little
first
bit.
appearance. Yeah.
mm.
Well, I think we're done. Is that a wrap?
Well, I'll go around next. Anybody have anything else to add?
Well, I might have something to add, depending on like some of the chat comments that I saw from Calliope. They were certainly quite interesting.
Yeah,
Like,
go for it.
Okay, basically, she mentioned about how like the fact they change voices definitely indicates like a physical change, not just an appearance, but like how in order to have a physical relationship would require physical transformation. I just couldn't stop. And also
I
the
can't
fact-
understand a word you're saying.
Okay. I was trying to say like because like a lot of people agreed on like the physical change idea. It meant like what if they wanted to take what if they wanted to be in a physical relationship? That would certainly be possible with that implication.
Well, that's the idea, right? They absorb love, and I assume it takes a physical form too.
But also, it seems
Let's
like
not think about how. Let's hope
Let's just
that
not
Shining
think about
and
it.
Cadence were planning to wait until the honeymoon. Hopefully.
well, there's just only one other thing. Just the idea of like maybe the things they can change into depends on like what they absorb their love from, and then that makes you wonder what sort of love can you get from a rock? But
Yeah,
then
Yeah, Maud.
Odd Pie was visiting recently.
Yeah.
From the Crystal Empire.
I know I'm playing up that joke.
I
but
wouldn't put it past Maud to have randomly traveled up to, the Crystal Empire for rock-related reasons.
You wouldn't put it past Maud. Past
Yes.
Maud. I'm sorry. I had.
Oh,
Fair enough.
past.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Well, I don't really have anything else to say. I thought it was a solid episode. I thought it was more solid than other solid episodes this season, and I look forward to the next.
Not quite loving this season as much as everyone else, but
Mhm.
I'm almost like a reverse past here. I didn't think any episodes were duds necessarily, and this is the first time in a long time it's taken the season this long.
He
Like I
likes honest
said-
apples. Shun the non-believer.
But yeah, I mean, the worst this season's gotten so far for me is like either mixed or like, meh, like not bad but meh. And other than that, I think it didn't take most of the other seasons nearly as long for me to find some episode to hate. So I guess that's some kind of feather in this season's cap.
Yeah.
Great ones for me are Discord and Harmony and Perfect Pair so far. And
Perfect Pair is like, it validates my existence as a brony all these years. Like,
Oh, yeah.
But that's a squee for another day.
I mean, like for me, I'm kind of like in a similar boat with Second here. Like, I feel like the worst is like meh, but like overall the energy, like the entertainment factor of this season compared to season 6, it's like worlds apart. Just it makes me feel enthusiastic about things. Just putting that out there. Even
Yeah.
if the episode quality is meh, if you don't entertain, then what's even the point of shows like this? When they try to put a moral up, Gotta get the kiddies in order to actually learn something.
Yeah.
Gotta make them laugh as well. That's why Pinky is there.
I guess that's pretty much it then. Unless anybody had any last minute thing come to mind, I'll go around one more time and ask that question.
Nope.
I don't have anything else to say.
I can't think of anything.
Wait, no, I do have one thing. Has
Ah,
anyone
damn.
ever told you sound like Lucy?
Hmm?
Me?
For me?
Who?
Second opinion.
I've been told I sound like Joe from Family Guy. I've been told I look like Joey DeMeo from some band I've never heard of. I can thank OmniViewer for that one if he's still there in the comments section. I've been told I look like Anton from No Country for Old Men. Apparently, I'm a more familiar presence than I thought.
Mm.
Yeah, you sound like Aeon of Dreams to me.
Aeon of Dreams.
Really?
Okay, well, I can
Yeah.
add that one to the list now.
Yeah,
Yep.
no, I can
If I'm
totally
not
see
paying
that.
attention, I'm like Lucy. Oh no, the second opinion.
All right. So, this is Aeon of Dreams saying thanks for watching. And this has been the Cafe Cast. Oh, Manowar. Thanks for reminding me, OmniViewer. That's the band.
Mm.
All right. Say your goodbyes, everybody.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Have a
How-
good one.
Have a nice day.
Ciao.
It's been good.